Hey everybody, ModelMan here. It's been a while. So you may remember my old friends here, Simple Green, the paint stripper. I didn't want to dirty up that clean jar on the right, and I didn't want to soak my parts into the muck in the bottom of the one in the middle. So I had an empty jar around, topped it off with a little of the mucky stuff so it's relatively clean. I've got wall parts for the Jupiter 2 in there. The paint had flaked off them in an unnatural looking sort of way, so rather than just try and reprime it and hope again, I'm going to strip it all down and do it fresh. Also in there I've got the command console. I had sanded that down a little, but some other parts still felt a little gritty, so we'll take that down. And basically with the Jupiter 2, it's time to start painting. So I'll come back to these later tonight, tomorrow. They should start stripping off in about an hour or two, but I've been through that routine. I'm just going to wait for it to do its thing, and 6 or 12 or 24 hours later I'll come back. So let's head over to the bench. So at this point the only way forward is to get painting. Here's a couple pieces I've pulled out. There's another piece I can paint right now. I think that might be all set. Rather than give it a full coat of primer, I'll just give it a coat of something light. So with the idea of organizing the painting, I've split all the parts into a couple boxes of those small fiddly little bits there. Over here, all the exterior parts, or exterior related, except for these 3 doors here, which I've grouped with the other 4 doors. So I figured I'll do those all at the same time. And here are all the other parts that I've pulled out, which are very readily paintable. The wall up here could be done already. I gotta check the directions next. That's the only wall strut I really want to paint right now, the rest are soaking. And a lot of these other parts are clearly masked for a next color, so they're on their way to being finished. So I'm going to prime this wall piece here, and with the floor and the ceiling, I got to give those one last sanding. They get reprimed. I'm not going to soak them. I wouldn't worry about the electronics if I did, but they're just huge parts and I don't feel like dealing with doing that at this point. So we're moving ahead. I got to get this moving, definitely. So a little bit of sanding and I'll catch up with you soon. So wouldn't you know it, the moment I finish painting this floor, the batteries on the camera are fully recharged. I may do one more pass on a section of it, but I'm going to let that sit for a while. I've already painted the ceiling and this entire piece. So next up I'm thinking about a light white coat, and then we're going on to all the appropriate colors. Sweet. A cursory glance at my airbrush revealed that the very tip of it is kind of bent and damaged, so I'm hoping that is not going to be too big a factor in this case, because I'm not really doing anything really delicate. However, a controlled spray is still required. I'm going to pull the whole airbrush apart first because I was having some problems with the trigger, probably from a previous time when I had taken it apart and hadn't put it back together correctly. So I'm going to check into that, and hopefully this will dry and this will be good and we can move on. There's lots of 1706 coming up, along with some color B, which is 2 parts 1704 and 1 part 1706.